about the gift was it wasn't a cheap gift. It's the most costly gift you could ever receive because it was the life of Jesus. God died for us. I don't know about you, but I just kind of go like, oh, wow. That is just like so big, my mind cannot get around it. And so now we're going to just kind of stop that part of the story for a second because we want to just talk about where you are here right now. Yeah. So this place is called Skull Hill because the Bible tells us that Jesus died at a place called the Skull. And about 200 years ago, a number of people started to wonder if the Church of the Holy Sepulchre was the actual place where Jesus died. And so they started to look around, and this was one of the places they identified. One, because he was crucified at a place, not a hill, a place called the Skull. And as you can see, this rock face over here looks a lot like a skull. Well, it's actually looking less like a skull than it used to because of erosion. But let me show you a picture of how it's looked in the past, and you can see it a little bit better. And I'll leave this book up here later. You can take pictures if you want. Can you see this here?
हेर्नुहोस् त पिक्चर देख्दै हुनुहुन्छ गलगत्था भनेको त खप्पर जस्तो क्या माना खप्पर जस्तो पर हेर्नुहोस् त यतापट्टि चाहिँ
So look over, if you're trying to find it on the cliff face, look over and about halfway down.
बिस्तारै तपाईको मोबाइल जुम गरेर हेर्नुभयो भने दुईटा आँखा अनि नाक देख्नुहुन्छ तर पानीले धेरै क्षयीकरण गरिसकेको छ अहिले यहाँ तपाईको मोबाइल जुम गरेर हेर्नुभयो भने त्यहाँ माना खप्पर जस्तो देखा पर्छ त्यो
And we'll let you take pictures after. Here's another older picture. Look at here. See how big the whole...
यसलाई नै खप्परे डाँडा त बाइबलमा खप्परे डाँडा भनेको यही ठाउँ हो के
outside of the city wall. And right behind you is the old city wall, and we know that that is in the same place it was in the days of Jesus. So we know that it's outside the city wall at a place called the Skull. So they identified this as maybe a place where Jesus could have been crucified. Now, a couple things you have to erase from your mind. You know what it means to erase from your mind? You have to get rid of it because you probably grew up with a beautiful picture of a green hill and 3 lovely crosses on it. Okay, that's not how crucifixion happened. That's the depiction of an artist. And sometimes in our churches we sing songs like On a Hill Far Away. Again, that's a musician's depiction of it. We really should be just singing At a Place Far Away because they were never crucified on a hill. First of all, you're in Jerusalem. We have rocky hills, not green hills. This is the greenest it's going to be. And most of the time it doesn't look like that. It's just dead. We also know that the Romans never crucified people on hills. They crucified them right beside the roadways, busy roadways, because it was a scare tactic. They wanted people to go by them and see them and go, oh, I'm going to listen to the Romans because I don't want that to happen to me. So we've got 3 busy roads that came here, one from Jericho, one from Joppa, and we've got the Damascus Gate right here that went up to the city of Damascus. So 3 really busy highways. So that is a perfect place that the Romans would choose to crucify somebody because there'd be lots of traffic going by, right? And the Bible tells us that the men that were on the cross, as they were hanging there, the people were, and the religious leaders were walking by them and they were yelling insults at them, they were mocking them, and they were making fun of them. They also, there was a title about Jesus on cross, remember, that said King of the Jews? Okay, all of those would tell us that he was crucified close to where people were so that they could read it and do that yelling. If he would have been crucified way up on top of a hill, those things couldn't have happened. Another thing about crucifixion is that the Romans believed in efficiency. They were masters at what they did, and they didn't do extra work. And so they weren't crucified way up high on a cross, it was low down. The historian Josephus, who lived in Jesus' day, wrote that the dogs used to lick the feet of the people that were hanging on the cross. So that would indicate that it was really low to the ground. If any of you have seen the series called Chosen, then you have already seen the crosses right along the roadway, how people would have been crucified in that day. But the thing I want to tell you is that the exact place where Jesus was crucified isn't the important part. The important part is what we talked about before. It was who was that person on the cross, and we believe it was the Savior of the world, the one that we needed to come into the world to save us from our sin, to save us from ourselves, right, and to make us right with God. That's why he came. I think I'm just going to continue. Usually I would take you to another part of the garden and talk about